Hello viewers, for a very special video today. I'm announcing what I'm going to be driving in 2024. It's this thing right here, BMW GT4, which we're going to be racing at the Nurburgring in the NLS. If I climb in, we can see those are my teammates, of course, Misha and Jimmy. I'm sure you know them. Incredible plans Bilstein have put together this year. We are testing here at Portimao. So we've got some days with the car to drive this track for the first time and to drive this car for the first time. So yes, a full season of GT4 racing at the Nurburgring once again. We of course have to thank Bilstein for putting this whole project together for the second year in a row. It's going to be an amazing year. In this video we're going to drive the car for the very first time around Portimao. But let's take a look at my reaction to seeing the car for the first time. In that door is our new race car. This is going to be very exciting. Let's go and have a look.
Hi guys.
Yes. You can start it. Yeah. Oh baby. Give it a little rev. Massive shout out to Bilstein for pulling this off, for putting it all together, for making it happen. Good to see it in person because we've seen all these like renders, but to see it like for real, it looks so good. It's going to stand out on track. The fact that this is happening, 3 YouTubers in a race car, backed by Bilstein, like it just doesn't get much better than this. Okay guys, here we go. You join me inside the car for the very first time. We're going to go and drive it around Portimao. Now, this is a circuit which I'm not overly familiar with, and therefore you're going to have to excuse the lack of pace to begin with. But here we go then, exiting the pit lane limiter comes off, and we put our foot down to that beautiful roar of the BMW M4 GT4. Now this first lap, as I say, Portimao is not a track I have done before. It's not one that I'm very familiar with on sim, and I suppose the only time I've really paid attention to it is when they raced here in Formula 1 a few years ago. But I must say, it is a brilliant circuit. We're going to try and learn it as quickly as possible here. Coming down towards the big braking zone here, down the hill at turn 5, you can see I very much underestimate the braking force required on the brake pedal to slow the car down. So that's something we have to get used to in this car, certainly compared to the 330i last year. You can see plenty of other cars on the circuit. Just for reference, this was an open test day, and therefore quite a few different cars on the track, all race cars. So it's not just road cars, it's all lots of very fast race cars, lots of GT3s as well as some other GT4 cars. So a mix of cars, but for me the main focus was just getting around nice and cleanly, trying to get a good feel for the car and for the circuit. And I must say, immediately I was feeling very comfortable. It feels a lot more racy compared to the 330i we drove last year. As you'd probably expect, it is a race car, so that is kind of a silly statement to make. But I felt immediately very comfortable in this car. It feels very direct in terms of the way the throttle is applied, the brakes and the steering. Pretty much whatever input you put into the car, it really just delivers upon that very quickly. So heading round, that's our first lap completed. Let's see what speed we can reach on the main straight. So well over 200 kph. By the time we get to the braking zone here at turn 1, over 240, but that will increase as my bravery and skill level increases throughout these couple of days here. So this first sequence of corners is actually very tricky, and I found it quite not too hard to get accustomed to this circuit. Actually, it's a very, very good track, one that I certainly underrated before coming here. But I'm going to fast forward here to a separate session. You can see here a bit of traffic, and fortunately enough, in the Black Falcon team we had another BMW M4 GT4 just in front, as you can see, and this was quite useful primarily because it gave quite a good benchmark of pace level that I probably should be at, and also you can practice what it looks like when you're following another car quite closely. Of course, in this situation you don't have the visual references going into a lot of the corners, and therefore you have to be a bit more careful with where you brake and where you turn in. So this was maybe my second session on the first day, and therefore I was getting quite a lot quicker by this point, really understanding the car, understanding the circuit. This sequence here, very tricky to get right, but it is such a good part of the track. As you come through the exit of this one, heading over the crest, you're looking into the sky, dropping back down over the other side. There's very fast sweeping left, which you can take flat out if you're fully committed to it. Very difficult braking zone here at the top of the hill. Following the BMW still quite nicely. Feel as though I'm quicker at this point, but it's actually quite a tricky circuit to overtake on if you're not quite fully alongside into the corner, so we're going to have to wait for the time being. Penultimate corner coming right up here. Very long looping right-hander. Feels quite lazy and quite awkward if you get it wrong. Have to be quite patient before getting on the power. Then heading in towards the final corner, which jumps over a crest. Well, I say jump, it doesn't quite jump, but it almost feels like it. It goes very light over that, and then full power. I'm not sure what the fuel levels were here, but we've seen quite quick into the slipstream, pulling out to the inside, and we get the overtake done. So my first BMW GT4 overtake on another GT4 car there. But after a few more laps, deciding to bring the car in, feeling really comfortable here. Overall, I was very happy with my pace and consistency on this opening day.
That is so good. It's like so direct.
Here's the car, guys. Let's take a look around it. A beautiful thing. There's no question with this Bilstein livery. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Big shout out. We're run by Black Falcon once again. Big sponsor for this year, Falcon, have jumped in as our tyre sponsor. We can see the big old rear wing, and this is something we're going to have to get used to this year, which is more downforce. Let's jump inside the car. That door is incredibly light. But as you can see, very racy in there, very purpose built. Let me climb inside. It's not the easiest thing to do, but once you're inside, you can see it's incredibly cozy. So we've got the main feature here, the FANATEC BMW racing wheel. It's actually incredibly familiar to me because I have one at home. And then just behind that we've got the dashboard, which cycles through many settings. Just down here, even more settings. We have brake bias here. We have this thing here is for the AC. We can put it towards our back, towards the front. Two vents here. There's a dyno setting there, dinosaur. This is to set all this pit speed limiter. Another limiter, full course yellow. And all of these buttons are, of course, dotted about the wheel. It feels really, really cozy in here. Really, really racy. It feels like very purpose-built for racing. If you just slide this, you can, as you can see, we can move the pedal tray back and forth. And actually, this wheel, if you move this, the wheel can be moved up and down slightly. So that's really good as well. That's the view out of the rear view mirror. As you can see, really not easy to tell anything from that. Probably going to have to rely much more on the side mirrors instead. I mean, some of the settings here, we've got radio, traction control, which you actually change on this dial here, as you can see. Good range of buttons and options, and obviously driving it is going to be really, really fun. So that's a tour of the inside. Let's start the car up and see how it sounds. Foot on the brake, and then press the stop. There we go. sounds very good indeed. Okay everyone, that's the end of day one. Join me tomorrow. We're going to try and go even quicker. Our plans for this year, in obviously the GT4 car, we're racing at NLS once again, like we did last year at the Nurburgring. 6 rounds starting in April, and all this is building up towards the Nurburgring 24 hour in June 1st and 2nd. It'd be great to have many of the fans down there supporting us if possible. But the 24 hours is the dream, you know, that's one of the most grueling races in the world. To be able to just do it is going to be amazing, but if we can try and finish it and have a good result, even better. Okay guys, here we go for some laps on the second day, trying to build upon what we did on day one. Coming out of the pit lane, now we understand the car a bit better, what it feels like. We've experimented with different traction control settings, different settings in the car in general, different ABS settings, and got really comfortable with how it all operates. There's quite a lot of different buttons, as you can probably tell, on the steering wheel, on the dashboard, and therefore there's quite a lot to think about. And this is really what this whole day is about, or these couple of days here at Portimao. So this is one of my quicker laps. Let's take a look at it into the hairpin there of turn 4 or turn 3. It's fast sweeping left up the hill, can be taken flat if you're brave. Bit of runoff on the exit, heading towards pretty much the biggest braking zone on the track. Just on the crest of the hill, hard on the brakes, trying to get 100 bar of pressure if possible. On the power as early as possible in a straight line. Ease the car over to the left. There's a fast sweeping right into quite an awkward right-hander here up the hill with a fairly awkward braking zone. Have to be quite patient. Then on the power as we go over the crest, back down the other side. Love this corner here, very fast left as we head back up the hill. Really committed there, braking just before we get to the top of this hill and just easing off the brakes to let the car turn in and rotate. Back down the hill again before another fast sweeping uphill left. Really fun section of the circuit. And then getting into this corner quite early. The uphill nature of it will help you on the brakes, but it can be quite misleading. And we head into the penultimate corner then, going in quite early for that early apex onto the power to accelerate to the outside of the circuit before coming to the final turn, committing quite early, getting towards that curb. Car will go light as we've mentioned, dropping back down the other side and then fully on the power before rising up this little hill across the start line to set a 1:51.8. We're going to whip it forward to another lap here as we head in towards turn 1, carrying the speed there as much as possible, straight lining the run towards turn 3, being patient on the power, bringing it back over to the right hand side, bit of oversteer on the exit and taking plenty of the curb on the inside and on the outside for the big braking zone of turn 5. Trying to spot the braking point can be quite tricky here. I was using a lot of the tarmac, a lot of the tyre marks on the tarmac to try to get that dead right there, but it's not quite easy to judge every lap. Sweeping to the left, carrying the speed as best as possible, and with this BMW M4 GT4, bit of downforce to play with this year, so that's going to be something different to try to adjust to. Now of course this is Portimao, very fun circuit, but it's not fully representative of the Nurburgring Nordschliefe of course, and therefore that is going to be a whole different challenge when we arrive there on April the 6th for our first race. April the 6th and 7th, and then a week later April the 13th and 14th. It'll be great to have as many of you down there as possible, and yeah, please do come and see us. If you spot us in the garage, come and say hi, and that'd be great to, it'd be great to see the fans. It'd be great to see you all there. if you can make it down. And this was one of my best laps of the entire couple of days here as we round out this final couple of corners, so not really interrupted by traffic, so that was a positive, I suppose. But coming up towards the finish line is going to be a 1 minute 51.4, after which we bring the car back into the pit lane to round out a couple of amazing days here at Portimao. Okay guys, wow, what an incredible couple of days here at Portimao. Feeling very blessed to be able to do this. You know, a couple of years ago, playing Forza on a controller and getting rammed off by shameful rammers, but here we are, first test, first time in the GT4 car, got a massive year ahead of us. Just want to say a massive thank you for all of the support to make this kind of thing happen, and obviously we've got to thank Bilstein for putting this whole project together, because without them none of this happens. But it's been a great couple of days here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.